Hey everyone, and I'm here with our special guest, Bob Brumfield, a leading estate planning and elder law attorney based out of Bakersfield, who helps business owners and hardworking Americans protect their family and financial affairs from unexpected life events. And today, we're talking about how, even if you have an estate plan or trust, how not discussing it with your loved ones can leave you and your family really behind the eight ball. Good to have you on, Bob.
Yeah, thank you, Grant. It's great to be here.
Now, before we get started, if you've not got a plan or you think your current plan needs a review, or even if you just got some questions you'd like to ask, just go to protectmymoneyinbfl.com. That's protectmymoneyinbfl.com, and you'll get a free assessment, some immediate next steps, but above all, peace of mind. So to kick off, Bob, let's talk about this thing that you see happening, really leaving families exposed, where people don't feel comfortable just sharing enough of the detail about the plan that they've set up.
Yeah, Grant, it's really a common problem, and I think people need to get over it a little bit. I think a lot of it relates to the issue of privacy and money matters, and people just don't like talking about money that much, and so they'll carry it over to their estate plan, and the problem that gets you into, of course, is your successor trustees, which are generally your children, have no idea what's going on unless you tell them. Your spouse may have no idea, and that's especially true. Certainly not to sound sexist at all, but men generally have controlled money matters for many years, and sometimes the female spouse is intimately involved. Sometimes she's not. And that certainly would carry through to really any kind of relationship. I mean, it could be, just any kind of relationship, but it's very important.
Yeah, just to come in there, I mean, I think no one's going to dispute what you've just said. And with that, men die generally statistically before women. We were talking about it before the show.
Right. I mentioned to people when I'm picking on them a little bit in a hypothetical setting, I sometimes say, well, it's lie. I'll pick on the guy. I'll call him my name, Bob. Bob is quite likely you're going to die here before Mary. And if you don't believe me, just look at what the insurance company statistics tell you. And of course, most people know that men typically die sooner than women. And you can use that as a bit of a segue to say, and it's important to include Mary here in your estate planning, and it's important to at least make your successor trustees somewhat aware. I mean, you don't have to go over 100% of everything you have unless you're one of those people who likes to do that, which is fine. But at least give them a good idea of what you have going on. I think is very important.
Yeah, well, for all our listeners, I mean, you've had direct experiences with your father. I mean, your mother had a bit of a nightmare, to say the least, and before your father deteriorated, literally, you were saying to me the day before, you said to Mum, look, we should really sit down and talk about Dad's plan.
Yeah, that's true. And that just happened just a year ago, Memorial Day. So it was a very recent memory. And I knew that my dad had a very good tax lawyer and a CPA in the area that he lived in. I knew that. I knew the fellow's name even. So that was, I knew a little bit of information, but I had a head start, but when it came down to it, Dad was deteriorating, and my mom and I were talking, and they said, well, tomorrow morning, let's make sure that Dad goes over the estate plan with us, and just so we understand where everything is. And lo and behold, the next morning, I ended up helping Dad down the hallway as he slowly, quite honestly, collapsed to the floor, and had 911 come take him to the hospital. Now, he did come home for a couple of weeks after that, but then it was the final hospital stay, and we were not able to speak with him. He wasn't able to communicate. And so that sets into motion you feel like a squirrel scurrying around his office, looking at the estate plan, opening drawers, looking for bank statements, looking for things, just so you get an idea what's there. And
well, you said to me it was like this sort of treasure hunt, really.
It was, and we, and through all of this, over the next few weeks when Dad passed, we found accounts that mom didn't even know about. And a couple of them, I remember my dad had like vaguely mentioned to me, like, well, I think I have this little account with the County of Los Angeles. Well, there it was. And it was a good sized chunk of money because he worked part-time for them, and it created some retirement money. Then there was a long-term health policy that, because he didn't use it because he passed before he needed it, that basically refunded the entire premium he'd paid. So we're talking low six figures of money here that mom did not know about. And this is not to pick on mom, but mom's very highly educated with graduate degrees. But like a lot of people, dad was taking care of it, and she said to me, I would sit in the meetings with the financial planner and I would just let the information go in one ear and out the other because I knew your father was taking care of it.
Yeah. And you never think of the ultimate reality that's coming down the road.
No, and you don't. And there are a lot of instances, we all have them in our lives. And like a good friend of mine in the last few weeks, who's a guy who's in great shape. He didn't pass away, thank heavens. But all of a sudden he started having severe chest pains, and now he's got two stents, around his heart area and around the vessels to keep him going. He's doing great, like a lot of people are after those. But you think, those little things come up, and
well, healthcare directives, not letting the people that are going to have to make those healthcare decisions know that they're the ones in charge of those decisions and what your wishes are. I mean, forget money. I mean, that's just massive, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just very important. And there's so many little life reminders we all have, whether it's a close friend or family member dying suddenly, or a good friend getting ill seemingly suddenly. And all these little things should be reminders for you to make sure that your affairs are in order, and that either your spouse or your successor trustees understand somewhat of your estate. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. So just on that, you were saying to me, you see people really coming in every week after there's been a death in the family, or they've got to deal with trust administration or whatever that's been left in their lap, not really sure what to do, right?
Oh, I mean, the question is even more simplistic than that. It's more of, what do I need to do? I mean, they have their trust binder that was put together, original documents, and of course we have a copy of it anyway, but they come in with this bewildered look. Well, what do I have to do next? And there are a number of steps that have to be done to basically have the surviving spouse take over administration of the trust. It's not a lot of steps, but it's, 5 or 6 things need to be signed and amended and revised, and just need to be handled so the survivor can, manage the assets.
Yeah. And sometimes if you're listening to this and you might be in your 40s and 50s and it's mum that's being left behind after dad's passing, being able to support mum through that and be involved in that, it's important, isn't it? With the trust administration, that just might be just too much for the person that's been left everything.
Well, it often is. And, you also get involved in tax issues possibly.
Yeah. You got to talk to the CPA.
Yeah. If they've got a CPA, you need to involve them, or if they have a tax attorney, but besides me, you might need to involve that tax attorney. Because there's going to be tax returns to file. You have to get properties valued, because you have to know the date of death value for tax reasons. So there are a lot of little things that need to be done. And all of those little things really, okay, sure, it'll cost you a little bit of money with the lawyer to get done, or your CPA to get done, but it will save you many, many times that amount of money going down the road.
Yeah. Why do you say it's going to save you money going down the road?
Well, if you do things relatively contemporaneously after the first spouse passes away, many of the issues are right in the forefront of your mind, and you can deal with them all. And like, for example, real property needs to be valued as of the date of death of the first spouse to die. That involves getting an appraiser, and that involves having them look at the property and value it. If there's stocks and bonds, you need to deal with the brokerage to get the value of the stocks or bonds as of the date of death. And like anything, it's just easier to do when all of these things are right in front of you. And I'm not at all suggesting someone runs out the week after a loved one passed away and do all this stuff. But if it's been a long decline, which is common too, you may have, some people are ready to do stuff immediately, and that's fine. Whatever your personal situation is, when you feel mentally up to it, but don't let it.
What you're saying is doing it right is important. Yeah,
it is very important. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think obviously a lot of your clients are hardworking people, quite often business owners, and yeah, it can get very complex if wishes haven't been transferred correctly within the business, never mind within the family. It just gets more complicated as you get into that sphere, yeah?
Yeah, well, and you think about it, we'll continue to pick on the husband here, but...
Why not? Good subject. I get picked on every day.
That's right. We got a couple of guys here talking. We can pick on each other. But yeah, if it's a business with... It doesn't matter if it's with or without partners, but with partners or other shareholders, it becomes real important because the surviving spouse often has not been involved in the business at all. But when the first spouse passes, all of a sudden the survivor owns the stock. And it kicks in a whole different scenario of how that business is managed, how the survivor is bought out, the surviving spouse is bought out of the interest, and obviously the surviving spouse is very interested in having at least the monetary value of that business interest paid to him or her, just for their living expenses. And so it also is important to have those matters set up also with your business partners. Whether I'm doing your business partners estate planning is another matter, but there needs to be documentation in place as to how your interest is.
Yeah, there needs to be a clear, coherent dialogue between all parties in that respect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, look, Bob, great, simple but powerful advice. Now, if you're listening to this and you've got more questions or you liked what you heard today, if you go to protectmymoneyinbfl.com, that's protectmymoneyinbfl.com, you'll get a free assessment and you'll get a plan of action. And I think some immediate next steps that will hopefully clear your thought pattern and make you feel a whole lot better. Look, Bob, thanks again for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Grant.
All right. And we'll catch up soon.
Very good. Look forward.
Thanks, buddy. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Protect Your Family and Money Show. If you'd like to contact our featured guest, just go to www.protectmymoneyinbfl.com and you'll be able to get a free assessment, some immediate next steps, and above all, peace of mind. Oh, and if you know someone that needs help, then just tell them to get in touch. The Protect Your Family and Money Show, helping hardworking Americans keep their family and money safe. The views expressed by the participants are their own and are not endorsed by the show. Nothing said in this podcast is legal advice for you.